Good morning, Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jaya mudirayat. Before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan, which is the supremest human being, unto Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto the author, Srila Vyasadeva. So we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, and we are reading from the third canto titled Status Quo. And we are in chapter 16, Creation of the Universal Form. And we are on text 16. We are on text 16. So we can recite one Sanskrit word at a time. Nirbinani.
Nirbinani.
Asya.
Asya.
Karmani.
Karmani.
Lokapala.
Lokapala.
Anila.
Anila.
Avishat.
Avishat.
Pranena.
Pranena.
Pranena Amshena.
Pranena Amshena.
Samsparsham.
Sparsham.
Yena.
Yena.
Asau.
Asau.
Pratipadyate.
Pratipadyate.
Nirbinanyasya karmani.
Nirbinanyasya karmani.
Lokapalo nilovishat.
Lokapalo nilovishat.
Pranenam shena samparsham.
Pranenam shena samparsham.
Yena sao pratipadyate.
Yena sao pratipadyate.
Nirbinanyasya karma charmani.
Nirbinanyasya charmani.
Lokapalo nilovishat.
Lokapalo nilovishat.
Pranenam shena samsparsham.
Pranenam shena samparsham.
Yena sao pratipadyate.
Yena sao pratipadyate.
Nirbinanyasya charmani.
Nirbinanyasya charmani.
Lokapalo nilovishat.
Lokapalo nilovishat.
Pranenam shena samsparsham.
Pranenam shena samparsham.
Yena sao pratipadyate.
Yena sao pratipadyate. Nirbinanyasya charmani.
Nirbinanyasya charmani.
Lokapalo nilovishat.
Lokapalo nilovishat.
Pranenam shena samsparsham.
Pranenam shena samsparsham.
Yena sao pratipadyate.
Yena sao pratipadyate.
Nirbinanyasya charmani.
Nirbinanyasya charmani.
Lokapalo nilovishat.
Lokapalo nilovishat.
Pranenam shena samsparsham.
Pranenam shena samsparsham.
Yena sao pratipadyate.
Yena sao pratipadyate. Someone online would like to chant the verse?
Nirbinanyasya charmani.
Nirbinanyasya Sharmani.
Lokapalo Nilo Vishat.
Lokapalo Nilo Vishat.
Pranenam Shena Samsparsham.
Aninam Shena Samsparsham.
Ena Supratipadyate.
Nasha Patipadyate. Word for word translation. Nirbinani, being separated. Asya, the gigantic form. Charmani, skin. Lokapala, the director. Manila, air. Avishat, interred. Pranena, amshena, the part of the breathing. Shamsparsham, touch. Yena, by which thou, the living entity, Patipadyate, can experience. Translation. When there was a manifestation of skin, separated from the gigantic form, Anila, the deity directing the wind, enters the partial touch, and thus the living entities can realize tactile knowledge. There is no purport, so I'm going to go to text 17. Karnavasya vinirbhinau disnyam swam vivishu disha shrotrenam shena sabdasya siddhimyena papadyate. Karnau, the ears, Asya, of the gigantic form, vinirbhinau, being thus separated, Dishnyam, the controlling deity, Swam, own, Vivishu, entered, Disha, of the direction, Shrotrena, Amshena, with the hearing principle, Shabda, Sya, of the sound, Tidim, perfection, Yena, by which, Papadyate is experience. Translation. When the ears of the gigantic form become manifested, all the controlling deities of the directions enter into them with the hearing principles, by which all the living entities hear and take advantage of sound. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The ear is the most important instrument of the body in the body of the living entity. Sound is the most important medium for carrying the message of distance and unknown things. The perfection of all sound and knowledge enter through the ear and makes one's life perfect. The entire Vedic system of knowledge is received by oral reception only, and thus sound is the most important source of knowledge. Om Gyana Timirandasya Gyanajala Shalakaya Shakshun Militandhyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayamupakadamaya Dadati Swapadam Tikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Shah Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Pavadutam Parijana Saita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vidam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute, Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Vishavanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Hari Priye, Vanchakalpatarubhyacha, Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvesesha Shunyavadi Pasya Chade Jatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I will read the translation again of the two verses. When there was a manifestation of skin separated from the gigantic form, Anila, the deity directing the wind, enters the partial touch, and thus the living entity can realize tactile knowledge. When the ears of the gigantic form become manifested, all the controlling deities of the direction enter into them with the hearing principle by which all the living entities hear and take advantage of sound. Hare Krishna. Yesterday after class, I was appreciating dear Govinda Prabhu for the smooth way he went from Sankhya philosophy to Bhakti. So what's Sankhya? Sankhya is very simple, is realizing we are in a prison house, understanding the rule of the prison house, understanding how the prison house works, and understanding that we don't belong here and that we have a different nature than the nature that's in this cloud of illusion. And in a sense, we don't need Sankhya philosophy. Like the gopis, the gopas, don't care about Sankhya philosophy. Why do we care? Because we are in a prison, and because by understanding the rule and why we ended up in a prison and how the prison works and who made the prison, and there is someone who is outside of the prison who made that prison, then by understanding that, we can understand our position. Because at the core, knowledge means to understand my position, and to understand my position as an eternal servant of Krishna, Jivira Swarup Oy, Krishna Nityadas. Like my constitutional position, Swarup, like Rupa, my form, is to be an eternal servant of Krishna. So in one sense, the only knowledge we need is Ishvara Parama Krishna Sakshitananda Vigrahas Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakaranam. Yeah. And so that's the only knowledge we need. We need to only fix. I was taking a japa walk this morning. I was thinking, okay, I could see anartha in my heart. I could see psychophysical nature. That's whatever it is. And I was thinking like of trauma, childhood, blah, blah, all those things. And I was thinking, well, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that I need to fix my mind on Krishna. And then, Ishvara, the supreme Ishvara Paramakrishna, the supreme Parameshwar, to fix my mind on Parameshwar. Sakshit Ananda, the ultimate form of Satchit Ananda, eternity, and Vigra, Sakshit Ananda Vigra, the ultimate form of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. An idea like at the beginning, like the the one without a second, without the source of everything. And Anadir, Hadir, Govinda, Sarva Karana, and the cause of all causes. So that's it, the cause of all causes. So here we are looking at, the effect. we have the cause of all causes, and then we have the effect. And the effect is like we are here in this world. And so, starting with Bhakti today, starting with all we need really is to fix our mind there. But because of a desire to lord it over material nature, that's not where we fix our mind. We fix our mind in our little God program, or God
Project.
Yeah, projects, enterprise, whatever. We want to protect ourselves, and not understanding that, again, Chintamani prakarasat masukal pariksha laksha vite susurabi ravi palayantam lakshmi sahasra sasamham pamase vyamanam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So that's the first created being, Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma is the first one to be in the cloud of illusion, like first created being in the universe. And he fixed his mind on, like Chintamani Dham, a place that's a wish-fulfilling place, where every desire is fulfilled. And where, like, the Lord is served by Surabhi cows, wish-fulfilling cows, wish-fulfilling land, wish-fulfilling cows. He's served by Lakshmis, all over, millions of Lakshmis that serve him. And that's where we want to put our mind. That's where we want to focus our mind. And the Lord allows us to do that in so many ways. And the Lord is like Haham Sarvasya Bhavava Amata Sarvam Pravartati Iti Madhva Bhajantivam Buddha Bhava Saman Vitaha. Every Wednesday we used to have a class to learn verses, but different people were coming, and then also when people were coming, they didn't know their verses. So we did 6 weeks on that one verse. I guess I know it well now. And so that's the first verse, the core of the Bhagavad Gita. This verse is one core of the Bhagavad Gita, and again it's Bhakti, Aham Sarvasya. Like the Lord said, I'm the source of everything. Everything emanates from me. All the world emanates from me. And in the Bhagavad Gita, in another place, Krishna said, all the demigods emanate from me. And so there is emanation of the Lord. There is 2 types of emanation from the Lord, Swamsa and Vibhinamsa. And the Swamsa form expansion of Krishna that don't need protection. Basically, Ashraya. They don't need protection. And we can just think like that. So Ashraya, the expansion of the Lord, Vishnu Tattva, they don't need protection. And the Vibhinamsa, they are minute particle, and they are fully dependent on their protection on the Lord, because they can be annihilated because they are so small particle. Like if we have a fire and we have spark coming out of the fire, then the fire, in a sense, even if we take a piece of the fire and we move it somewhere, it's going to continue to be a fire. There is no danger there. But if we take a spark in a fire and the spark fly out away from the fire, it becomes annihilated. There is no more shiningness. There is no more, the quality of fire even disappear from the spark. So that's the Vibhinamsa, the living entities that are separated from Krishna. The quality of the fire, the quality of our godly quality disappears. They are completely covered. And so we need protection. So we are the protected, and we are also, there is a controller, or the expansion of Krishna that are Swamsa, emanation of himself, like different fire, and they are in control. And then the Jiva soul is controlled. And then, so when we come to the Jiva soul, so Krishna, where we fix our mind, the spiritual world, doesn't get his hand dirty. What he does, he has pastime. He enjoys, he's a supreme enjoyer, and all his emanation, swamps of Vibhinansa, they're all made to give him pleasure. And so that's the truth. That's the absolute truth. In a sense, that's all we need to fix our mind there, and that's all we need. But Krishna understands that, okay, well, you decided that's not all you needed. You decided to forget. And we need a system to remind you. We just need a system to remind you. And we can see in those two verses, I really appreciated, like, does living entity can realize tactic knowledge. So tactile knowledge. So part of the Sankhya philosophy is to understand all that is for us to use our system, like the gigantic become manifested. So Prabhupada said, the most important instrument is the ear. The most important instrument is the ear. That means it's an instrument, not to be, for us to be identified with the instrument. And there is many instruments. So when we get an instrument, it means that it's meant to be used, isn't it? An instrument, it's like a tool, an instrument, a musical instrument. In itself, it doesn't do anything. A musical instrument, like I follow a channel on YouTube, maybe you know, it's called I Love Mayapur. It's German devotees, and it's nice. They're living in Mayapur, and they share their life. And there was a devotee in Mayapur. I think she is from Ukraine or Russia or somewhere, but she came to Mayapur with a Stradivarius. Stradivarius, it's like a violin, and her violin is $15 million. It's difficult to conceive how a little piece of wood like that is $15 million, but her violin is $15 million. And so that's an instrument, and that $15 million instrument in itself has no value. It's like our body in itself has no value. It's an instrument, and it's way more sophisticated than this Stradivarius violin of $15 million. You know, like if we were to put, like, even my body, like when I got all the treatment I received 3 years ago, it was $200,000. And I said, oh, wow, now I have a $200,000 body. But in fact, it costs so much more. You know, if we put the value of all the instruments that comprise the body. So the violin in itself, it really, even so it's $15 million in itself, unless it's played on by someone who really know how to play musical. And, you know, it's not a beginner. This devotee, she's a devotee. She came to Krishna consciousness with her parents when she was 11 years old. And she loved Krishna consciousness. And she's a very, very famous classical musician, violinist. She traveled all over the world to do concerts with her $15 million instrument. So that instrument is valueless if it's not played, and not only played, but played for its purpose, which means like high level musical knowledge. And she was saying, because this instrument was built in the 1700s, it's one of the last that's, it said it was at the peak of Stradivarius' life, when he was making the most sophisticated violin. So, but she was saying that this violin has the power to create sound that is louder than the other violin. So it's for a soloist, someone who do a solo. Like when you have classical music, you have all the orchestra, everybody plays, and then there is one, violinist that is solist that need to play above the other violin. And so that violin has so for us too, we need to play above the other violin. We need to know how to maximize what we have received. And here it said, with the hearing principle for which, by which all living entity hear and take advantage of the sound. So the sound is so important. So the Lord, he expands himself, and then when there is different living entities, and there is living entities that are empowered with controlling power. They just have controlling power. And those living entities, we can understand that they don't act independently. And that's what makes a demigod. A demigod doesn't act independently. Say, thank you, God, that they don't act independently, because they are in charge of every single thing here. So if they were whimsical, independent, then life will be chaotic, and also it will lose its purpose. So the demigods, they are trusted by the Lord, because they know that they don't have independence. Once in a while, they manifest their independence, but they don't have independence, and they solely depend on the Lord and for everything. And they understand that that they are dependent on the Lord. So the more we manifest that type of dependence, the more the Lord can use us, as long as we think independently from the Lord. And as long as that's where we want our consciousness to be, then the Lord cannot do much through us. And we are not given responsibility for, like the system that the Lord created. Maya Dirkshena Prakriti Suyate Sachacham. Etu Nanena Konteya Jagat Viparivartate. Eti is the reason or cause or like that. So the material nature is working, Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, the material nature is working under my direction. So it's all working under my direction. Of course, Krishna is enjoying, he doesn't get his hand dirty, but he expands himself. And so my direction is a Swamsa expansion, the fire. They are still fully fire. They don't need protection, and they are expansion of Krishna. They act like Krishna, but where Krishna can continue to enjoy and not get his hand dirty. So it's under my direction. This material world work under my direction, and it's producing moving and non-moving entities. And by its rule, and that's the sentence I really like in that verse, by its rule. So he had this material energy have its rules. And by its rule, this manifestation is created, annihilated again and again. So by its rules, it comes to creation and annihilated again and again. And here we are hearing from Maitreya Rishi about the manifestation of the universal form. The universal form is manifested Kshirodakashaya Vishnu at the very beginning of within the universe. So there's a Mahatattva, and the Mahatattva kind of is unmanifested in a sense, and dormant or subtle energy. The Mahatattva, there is nothing really gross on that level, but all the constituent of the material energy are there in their subtle form, in their and then Garbhodakasha Vishnu expand, like Swamsa, expansion of the Lord, and then all those concepts, or Prabhupada is a word I really like, but I'm not remembering it now. But the Mahatattva, when the Mahatattva enters there, then it becomes to manifest what already it contains in the form of a soup, and like that. And then the universal form manifest. And so here we are hearing about sound. So the sound element and the ears. Ear is the most important. We are also hearing about the tactile touch. Touch comes from air, like the air from air manifest touch, like sensation, skin sensation. And those skin sensation, it gives us information, given information. This is hot, this is cold, this is fulfilling for the senses, for the sense of touch, or it's not fulfilling for the sense of touch, and mainly we can acquire knowledge. But the most important senses to acquire knowledge is hearing. And sound belongs to all the elements. Like for all the elements, there is sound in ether. That's where it starts. There is sound in ether. That's how sound travels. There is sound in air. There is sound in air. We can see, like we hear the wind. There is sound in air. And there is sound in fire. And there is sound in water. And there is sound in earth. So sound is all pervading. And that's why it's such an important aspect of creation. And sound, the whole, in a Bible, it say, like there was a sound, it was a word, but
in the beginning was the word.
The word sound. So there is the sound is right there, all pervading everything, and sound has the power to travel very far. And I was thinking about that. I was thinking, like, I'm speaking now, so I'm generating sound in a sense. And people in this room, they can hear me. If we were to open the door, maybe someone outside of the door could, hear me maybe. But sound travel very much, because like maybe a mile from now, from here, maybe less than a mile, there is an highway. And we hear the sound of the highway. So the sound is traveling all the way to Switzerland through internet. That's right. That's also traveling of the sound through vibration. And I was thinking there is subtle aspect of sound, and also there is a sound on one hand, and there is hearing capacity. So I have my own hearing capacity. And then, like other human beings have different hearing capacity. Like sometimes I hear very fine sound, maybe someone doesn't hear it. And maybe someone hears sound that I cannot hear. So we have our hearing capacity. And sound, Prabhupada says, is so potent that it can cross through all the layers of the material universe. And it can descend like Golokera, Premadana, Harinam, Sankirtan. So the Maha Mantra, the sound from the spiritual sky, the flute of Krishna, is all pervading. It's pervade the whole spiritual sky, which the material universe is part of the spiritual sky. It's just the sky is covered by a cloud of illusion. So that sound of the flute of Krishna is pervading the entire universe. And we just need to train the ears to hear it. And here we can see in that sentence which all the living entity hear and take advantage of sound. We can see that the universe really, from the point of view of Krishna, from the point of view of Maitreya Rishi speaking, there is only one purpose. So sound will have one purpose. There is many sound vibration. Like the more we are covered, the more we can vibrate sound vibration. We can allow sound vibration that are in a mode of ignorance into our ears, sound vibration that are in a mode of passion into our ears. And of course, we are very affected by sound vibration. Any sound that penetrates us is really has the power to influence us on a very, very deep level. And that's why, because on a deep level, we want to be affected by the flute of Krishna. So sound has such a powerful effect on us because it has the power to save, to liberate us from material energy. So in itself, that's the power of sound. So the sound vibration we expose ourselves to will have a very deep effect on us because we are built up to receive sound in order to liberate ourselves. So our sensitivity to sound is refined, and sound is powerful. So I wanted to read a few verses. I could get lost and speak for a long time, but sound have the power to wake us up, isn't it? There is 3 stages of existence. There is dreaming, daydreaming, and awaken. Dreaming is we just create whatever. We maybe have seen gold, we have seen a mountain, Prabhupada says. And so in dream, we created gold mountains. So through the sound vibration, whatever we receive throughout the day, then at night, we put things together, our mind put things together, I create dreams. And then there is daydream. Prabhupada says there is daydream. Daydream is like thinking that I can make plan to save myself or plan for happiness. It's illusion. It's a dream too. I mean, completely dreaming that I can make my situation in this material world better. So that's dream, but that's daydream because we think we are awake. And then the fully awake stage is awakening to Jivara Swarupa, that I'm a servant of Krishna. And that's the only awaken. It's the only reality. I wrote something yesterday. Yeah, yeah, we are in a disease condition, and the healthy condition is to remember who we are and understanding, to be like the demigod, really understanding our full dependence and stop acting independently. Yeah, there's so many things I want to say. So basically, sound is the most important to tangle us and disentangle us. Sound is what tangle us and disentangle us. And yesterday we were speaking about subtle senses. So, I was thinking, like when I was in Japan, there was a lot of apparatus for people, blind people. Yeah. And they were all based on sound. They were there every crossing. You remember all the crossing in Japan? They have voices and they have sound to help people with who are blind. And so in a sense, seeing is very overrated because we don't learn much about anything by seeing. But at the same time, a lot of people say, can you show me God? As if it's a very intelligent thing to say. But most of our knowledge is not acquired. Most of our knowledge of even the material energy is not acquired to our eyes. It's even if we go somewhere, like I go outside and let's say I don't know about trees, so I will see that thing with a trunk and leaves around, but I will not know anything. I will just see a thing, and it's not going to. I'm not going to acquire a lot of knowledge. But like if I become an arborist, then I learn about trees. I learn how they have a sap. I learn they have roots. I learn how they can transform CO2 into oxygen. They can, like create oxygen for us to breathe. I can learn so much about trees that my eyes are not going to take me very far. So through hearing, through hearing, we can wake up. And even if someone is sleeping, that's the best way. Get up, wake up, spirit soul, Jeev Jago, wake up, spirit soul. So if someone is sleeping, one of the ways to wake them up is to make sound. A lot of instruments to wake people up called alarm clock. They are based on sound. So if we want to wake up, we need a sound. Alarm clock are based on sound. We could have alarm clock based on light, like light coming, but it may not be as effective. And so to wake up to our original constitutional position, the sound is what going to do it. And so I want to read from a fundamental principle of material nature. It's in later on in the third canto when Maitreya Rishi goes about it more in details about the awakening of that universal form, and that awakening of the cosmic being aroused only when the presiding deity of consciousness comes. So then it's a text from the third canto, chapter 26, text 71. Say, when a man is sleeping, all his assets, namely the vital energy, the senses for recording knowledge, the senses for working, the mind and the intelligence, cannot arouse him. That's interesting because sleeping is a thing that I've been struggling with for many years. And I don't understand how to fall asleep because I have so many hours of being awake and I have no idea what's the process to fall asleep. I have tried so many things, breathing, meditating, counting the sheep, chanting, but I feel really out of control. I really have that feeling of this is out of my control if I sleep or not. And in fact, learning to put it in Krishna's have been helpful. And then same thing with awakening. I awaken sometime at 12:30 and I don't go back to sleep. And I have no idea what wake me up. I could just stay sleeping. There is no alarm clock that woke me up, nothing woke me up, but something is waking me up. So here it says, he can be aroused only when the super soul helps him. So basically that universal form is a super soul. And then the next verse says, therefore, through devotion, detachment, and advancement in spiritual knowledge acquired through concentrated devotional service, one should contemplate that super soul as present in every body, although simultaneously apart from him. So the super soul is Upadrasta Anumantacha. It's like the witness, it's witnessing, and it's overseeing and permitting. So we couldn't be awakened without the super soul awakening us. And why is the super soul deciding to wake me up at 12:30 at night? I don't know. But there must be a good reason, I imagine. Or karma. But that's how it works. And then I wanted to go somewhere else also. So the super soul is very active in all those processes that we are hearing about, the different empowerment of the demigods being completely dependent on the Lord and acting as instrument of the Lord. They are representative of the Lord. They are all Sakchevash avatar in a sense that they are fully empowered by the Lord to do their job. So here we hear about two demigods, one that's in charge of the skin and one in charge of the hearing. And then in the second canto, there is something that I wanted to read. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, Prakriti Kriyamana Niguna Sarvasa Sarvasa Ahankara Vinimuktam Vimuda, Vimudatma, Kartaham iti, Manyate, Kartaham. So it says that all that matter nature is moving, everything is done under my nature. Guna, karma, nisarvasya, all activities, karmanic activities are made by the guna, the tremor of material nature. But because ahankara is false ego. Because of ahankara, the human beings, they think I am doing things. I am the doer. He thinks that he's a doer, which is madness, because we can see here, and that's why we need to learn that, because we can see that no, the deity in charge of the sound is a demigod. There is even demigods that are in charge of our eyelid. So really, without the help of the demigod, I cannot move my eyelid. So to think I am the doer, like yesterday, the Govinda was sharing about the process that happened within the body. I'm speaking about the process of falling asleep. I have no idea how it's happened, and I have a lot of time to meditate upon it. Maybe, earlier in my life, I will just lay down and fall asleep. That was easy enough. But that haven't happened for 9 years. That sense of easy enough to fall asleep is like every day almost I have anxiety, because I've worked on it, and now I'm just like, oh, let's see what's happened. But yeah, what is the process? How does it happen that we fall asleep? What is sleep? What is sleep? I'm asking that question too. What is sleep? Is sleep necessary? Prabhupada said it's not very important. The Western doctors say it's the most important. So it's like difficult to know, where to situate ourselves. My experience is that I have been functioning with very little sleep for a very long time. And it does affect me if I have like many hours in the night that I don't sleep. I feel really off the next day. But at the same time, I cannot say that, like, in general, having very little sleep is affecting me. Like, there is both. Like, when I'm staying awake for hours and hours at night, it does affect me. But in general, not having a lot of sleep is not. And I think what's affecting me is what I do with it. Like maybe the resistance to not sleeping. That's a possibility. So where I want to go is in a second canto, because yesterday I spoke about the second canto, because there is a lot of reference there, and there is a part of the purport I want to read to everyone. But that's second canto is chapter 10, Bhagavatam is answer for all questions. So that's a great chapter. And he says the individual person possessing different instruments of senses. So same words that Prabhupada used, the instrument, and the most important instrument is the one that receives the all-pervading sound. And sound is said it's in all direction, like in our verse today, say the sound, the direction enters the sound. And that's wonderful, isn't it? That I can hear a sound that's behind me, or in front of me, or on the side of me. Why? We can take it for granted. Oh, that's how sound is. But we do that all the time. We just take things for granted, like, well, I lay down and I sleep. But Sankhya philosophy is helping us to think, to not take things for granted. So here we learn that the direction, all the direction, different direction enter that ability to hear. And what it does, it could be that only one direction. It could be we could hear only, like with vision. Vision is not entered by all the direction. And so I can only see in front of me. It could be that we will only hear in front of us. But why not? It's explained here in our verse today, which I really like. Why is not on the page? There. I lost number 16. It says, all the controlling deity of the directions enter into them. So the ears of the gigantic form become manifest, and all the controlling deity of the direction enter into them. So that means like our ears, all the direction enter into them, that we can hear from any direction, while we can only see from one direction. And what to speak about the touch, we can only touch in contact with something. So going back to the second, it's a little going everywhere because I wanted to share so many things. So I'm skipping there. So the supreme, no. The individual person possessing different instruments of senses is called adiatmic. So adiatmic, that's the individual person that possesses those different instruments. And the individual controlling deity of the senses is called adidaivic. So that's what we are speaking as today. So the adidaivic, they are pure devotees, it says. Why they are pure devotees? Even so, they do have the enjoyment spirit that they want, but they do that always in a religious way. They never enjoy in a way that's not religious or independently. They enjoy according to what's enjoyable in the material world, basically. That's enjoyable without sinful activity, without acting independently. It's not like when we become a devotee and become fully surrendered to Krishna and depend on him, like the enjoyment of our senses stop. No, and quite the opposite, the enjoyment of our senses increase, like the demigod. So the controlling deity idea atmic, they are there as instrument of the Lord to control the different instrument that's giving to the body or the senses that the atomic soul is inhabiting. So, and the individual controlling deity of the senses. So remember, the senses are controlled by, not by me, by Adidaivic. The embodiment seen on the eyeball is called the adibotic person. So what we can see, what we interact with, meaning other adiatmic in a sense, other instrument, other soul's instrument, which we, in a chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita, is that there is two birds in our heart. There is the soul and the super soul. And the soul only is adiatmic because it can only know in connection with the instrument of one body. Yeah. And so every other body are adibotic because they are, in a sense, they are objective senses and they are outside of the adiatmic. But the super soul is in every body. But the difference between the soul and the super soul, beside the fact that is in everyone's, it also is not enjoying or interacting with the instrument, like the senses instrument. It's not interacting with them. It's just witnessing us interacting with them. So the embodiment seen on the eyeballs is called adibotic person. So that's adipotic person, that's the other, let's say, the other adiatmic outside of me. Yeah. And then I want to read from the purport. I hope I will find it. I will just read from my notes. Every individual living entity is subject to the supreme control of the Paramatma. So Paramatma, Kshirodakashayi Vishnu's universal form, it's different manifestation of one and the same. Of the Paramatma, who put everyone in different position of the controller and the controlled. So Paramatma puts everyone in different position of the controller and the controlled. And I love that. Prabhupada speaks about that. He says, like, yeah, some living entities that are non-different than us, Jiva soul, they are put in position to be controllers. Yeah. And then some Jiva soul, because they have committed more crimes and they still want to act independently, then there's a controlled. But a controlled Jiva soul who decide to turn to Krishna, a controlled Jiva soul who decide to accept his dependence, can become a controller. Like that. So that which distinguishes the controller and the control, i.e. the material body, is called adipotic Purusha. So the Purusha adipotic. Yeah. The controller. Okay, so I have so much more to say, but time is running out. So the last thing I want to share is where I started about Ishvara Parama Krishna, is the flute of Krishna. And so there is a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, Muktir idvanyata rupam swarupena vyavastita. Yeah. Liberation is a permanent situation of the form of the living entity after it gives up the changeable growth and subtle material bodies. So that's our constitutional position. And then and now I was thinking this morning, we have propensity to love. And I was just thinking like, yeah, I have so much propensity to love. I have so much propensity to love and be considerate to people. I was just looking at it like I was looking at so many things with it that adhyatmic and like, this vehicle and, the shortcomings and the luggage and all that. But also I was appreciating like, this lifetime conditioning to love and ability to love. And I was thinking, wow, yeah, it's just like that propensity to love need to be redirected. And when it's redirected, then it's complete. And why not? Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhuka Bunyoy. Shravanadi Sudasite. Kaya Uday. Kaya Uday. So Anitya Siddha. Nitya means eternal. Siddha is constitution, like Siddha, like power. So our real superpower is that love of Godhead is eternally established in our heart. Love of Godhead is eternally established in our heart. Shravanadi Shuddha Chite Kaya Adai. By hearing, by the potential of hearing, that purification is happening for us. And then we can be awakened to that constitutional position. Like we have our propensity to love so many things, love ourselves, love our whatever, in different selfish or selfless way, love my nation, love my country, love, yesterday I watched a documentary, it's called The Bride of Allah. It was really the amazing documentary. It was like interviewing women who are in Israel, in the prison of Israel. And the prison was a really nice place, but it was not about that. But as they were interviewing those women, Palestinian women, it's obvious what situation they are in. Anyways, they were interviewing women who were arrested and were in prison in Israel And most of them, they were suicide bombers, or they were taking people, men or their sons or anybody, to Israel to do a suicide. And they were very proud. And they were really nice women, like really nice, educated, intelligent, spiritual women who felt like a gift to God is to kill yourself, suicide bomb. And there was a baby, 6-month-old baby, and there was a woman who said, and when you grow up, you're going to be a suicide bomber. And it was really interesting because all of them, they were part of suicide bombing and failed one. There was one, she pushed a button to, explode herself, and it didn't work. And it was in front of a soldier in Israel, so she went in. Why did I share that?
Bride of Allah.
The bride of Allah. Yeah, anyway, I don't remember, but there was a connection, but I don't remember the connection. I feel pressure, I need to end the class. So, by purified our Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam Tat Vena Tat Vena Nirmala Rishikesha Rishikena Sevanam Bhakti Uchyati, like by purified senses. So how we purified our senses? The main way to purify our senses is by hearing. And Srila Prabhupada said, when you chant, you hear. Like Nitya Gopal Prabhu is doing very nice recording of the Maha Mantra with affirmation in it. And it starts with, when you chant, you hear. So meditating on that, hearing the sound of the holy name, because that's the fruit of Krishna. It pierces through all the layer of the material illusion, all the layer of the different gross and subtle element of the material nature. It's Golokera, it comes from the spiritual world. And as much as we can hear the high wave, and so it's 1 mile away, we can hear the flute of Krishna through the Maha Mantra. And by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama, Hare Hare, we can free ourselves from that system of Adhyatmic, Adibotic, and Adidaivic. Hare Krishna, thank you for listening. I'm reading the verses again. When there was manifestation of skin separated from the gigantic form Anila, the deity directing the wind, enters the partial touch, and thus the living entity can realize tactile knowledge. When the ears of the gigantic form become manifested, all the controlling deities of the directions enter into them with hearing principles, by which all the living entities hear and take advantage of sound. Hare Krishna, thank you, devotees, for listening. Any comment, question, criticism? Nitya Gopal Prabhu, you have your hand raised.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So thank you very much for the wonderful, profound discussion on the sound and the power of sound. And it's so fascinating to me that yesterday night before sleeping, I was meditating on one of the verses from Kevalastakam. That how I just said that Madhuram Madhure Byopi. The sound of holy name is the sweeter than the sweetest. And then I was reflecting, how is it? How the holy name is the sweeter than the sweetest in this world. Then I was thinking how even in this material world, the first sense object which come to the place is sound. From ether comes sound, then all other form comes. It keeps becoming more and more grosser from sound. So the capability on the sound to give us pleasure is the highest, even in the material world. There's a limitation to eat, taste. We can eat X number of food, but with sound there is no limitation like that. So sound can give us the highest amount of pleasure even in the material world. And how the sound which represent Krishna's name can surely be the most sweetest to hear.
Thank you. Thank you. Madhuram, Madhuram, Gopi. I like that song too. So it's like sweetest of the sweetest, and you were meditating on that, and then understanding that sound is all pervading, and it's a most subtle aspect, and that everything starts from sound, and then it's grosser and grosser and denser, and the more dense, the more limiting it is to enjoy. And all our senses, they have limitation in the amount of enjoyment we can get from the object of the senses, and sound seems to be less limited on a material platform. We can see the industry of music is very developed for forever, in eternity of mankind, and people can listen to music way longer than they can have sex, for example. Just like, and even so,
Yeah,
sex.
so even I was reflecting as you're sharing this point, that how if somebody remembers somebody's name, let's say we say such and such person, everything about that person will start coming out in my mind, about that person's form, about that person's qualities, about that person's activities. Similarly, as a soul, deep within us, we know all the features of Krishna. We just have to be reminded, and when we get reminded by hearing the sound of Krishna's name, then it can reveal the form, it can reveal the pastimes, it can reveal the qualities. So no wonder why Srila Prabhupada emphasized so much on the chanting of Hare Krishna.
I appreciate that, because really, even when we want to enjoy something, let's say we go to Disneyland, for example. I've never been, but some people go to Disneyland. Just hearing about it, that's why there is brochure and there is so many books. The hearing is almost giving us more enjoyment than the experience itself. Or we hear about a person, or we hear about a place, or we hear about an experience. The enjoyment from that hearing is greater often than the experience itself, or the person itself, or the location itself. And so, like the sound vibration that comes from Goloka, from the spiritual world, of course, is going to give us even more satisfaction, because it doesn't have a beginning and an end, and because also it's a sound representative of Krishna. So we are directly in contact with our object of love, and we can direct all our object of love towards that sound vibration. And holy name, the holy name Nama Prabhu is our best friend. I really have a lot of realization about how, like chanting for so long now, long enough that it's a big part of my life, 35 years, like more than half of my life chanting. If I look at the last 35 years, so many things happen in my life, and most of them are not pleasant necessarily, not much pleasure, not much enjoyment, not much anything. But I can say I could always count on my best friend, no matter what was happening. Like going for a walk for 30 minutes with my best friend, things will transform and get so much better, and I will feel so much better being with my best friend. So that's our loving and our love propensity can expand, and in towards Krishna, that we experience in the sound vibration, and then that sound vibration has the power to take us to the lotus feet of Shri Krishna, and to continue to develop that bhakti lata beach, that creeper of devotion, in a way that will lead us to more and more serve the Lord unconditionally, and in a way that's not interrupted. Hare Krishna, thank you.
Thank you, Mataji, for your reflection. Beautiful point, that how the holy name is our best friend.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else would like to comment? Kim.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. I have a few things I wanted to mention. But one thing I was going to say is, like, you and I were talking the other day about my mother. seeming to get a strong attachment all of a sudden. I mean, it's vague, except if you know her, that she wants to be at your house and she wants to be around you, which, you know, is Krishna's all around you and all around your house. And I think like the only connection for her, she's such a strong, very closed-minded Christian, you know, her whole life. And it's opposite of everything she would ever want, you know. But the only connection I can see, because she's never asked me one thing about Krishna consciousness, not one word has she ever asked me, right? I think she's so afraid. But she hears the word Krishna all the time. Since I was 18 years old, she has heard that word. So I have to think it's that word, on only that word, that's created that some kind of a attraction and maybe even attachment for her. So just showing you how strong the word Krishna is, in my opinion, you know. So I wanted to bring that up. And then just a side point, I always go back to the Bible, but you know, if you go back to the Bible, there's such a strong connection to the Word of God, and that, you know, that the world came into existence through the Word of God. And if you go back into Hebrew, a lot of times there are translations that say sacred sound. So there is a connection between sound and the strength and power of God coming through sound, you know. So it's an interesting study in that. Anyway, those are my two comments. Thank you so much for class. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Kim. Yeah, of course, the Bible is, you know, is there to help people. Christ came to, and the Bible, you know, for the Hebrew people, they came to help. And of course, we will find the truth, and the truth is sound. You know, everything starts with a sound of God's, of Krishna's flute that Lord Brahma received in his heart. Yeah, and then your mother, yeah, in fact, your mother, she's attached to our Christian community. And if our Christian community knew that she spent time in my house, she will be shown. That's our risk for her.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And as you say, she doesn't say anything about being attracted to Krishna or anything, but everything in my house is against anything she should expose herself to. Like as a sane, you know, part of her group, she really shouldn't do that. And she's so eager to come. And you have full trust in the holy name. Like Srila Prabhupada say, I have no qualification. You know, I have no qualification. And he said, but I have full faith in the holy name. And like Haridas Thakur, Lord Chaitanya asked Haridas Thakur, you know, what's going to help the people? And he said, the holy name, of course, you know, your incarnation in the holy name. And Haridas Thakur say, even uttered once without knowing, or heard once without knowing, the holy name of the Lord has the potency to free someone. And he gives an example of Muslim people who are scared of boar, because I guess some places they are dangerous. Everywhere they are dangerous, really. Boars are kind of scary and powerful. And so when there is a boar coming, they say, Aram, 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 Aram. And of course, Haridas Thakur said, when they say Aram, it's like, oh, Ram, oh, Ram, oh, Ram. Is they are glorifying Ram, and they don't know. It's Agyata Sukriti. Agyata is like not knowing. They don't know that they hear or chant the holy name of the Lord. And in America, there is Ram Charger. There is trucks that run on it. Now, I always think of that. It's like those trucks are making so many devotees, because even without knowing the potency of the holy name, even if without knowing anything about Krishna, if one just hear once the name of Krishna, is purified. So your mom have heard the holy name of the Lord for 40 years, and more than 40 years, she have heard the word Krishna. And you know that her attraction, she's not consciously attracted to Krishna, but unconsciously she's very attracted to Krishna, because there is no rational. Why will your mind insist again and again to come to my house and eat prashadam and hear my kirtan and see the picture of Krishna and see the deities, blaspheme, oh God, see deities in the house.
Yes, and if I can just add, also, you and I were saying what's funny about it is probably the first 30 years or so, she was like, how could my daughter be involved with Krishna? That was probably going through her head every day, but yet she was saying that word over and over, you know? So it's wonderful. Thank you.
Krishna is the greatest cheater. He tricks all of us. He tricks the entire universe is delivered by Lord Chaitanya, by Prahlad Maharaj. And there is so many tricks. Like I'm convinced that people will see the Ram on those tracks. They see Ram, they see the name of Ram. And that's how the Lord serves the entire universe. I saw Ladini, you had your hand raised, but it's not raised anymore. Anandini?
Hare Krishna. Thank you for your class and the discussion. Yesterday we spoke about the senses, and I was thinking about that. I continue to think about it, and I remembered that I read a book as a child about Helene Kriller. She's a lady who learned. She was blind and she was deaf. She couldn't hear, couldn't see, and then in the end she was the professor, and she learned five languages. And just because someone got the idea, let's give her an object and then write the name of the object in the other hand. And that's how she learned. And I was thinking how, yeah, they're knowledge acquiring senses, but they don't seem to be so important as I think they are. Like they can acquire knowledge in different ways. And then someone was sharing yesterday how we can see without our eyes, like in the dream we see, and similarly we can hear without the ears. And I just came to that conclusion now, like really assuring, because my hearing is going down. And I was thinking, wow, I'm not so old and it's already going down. Maybe one day I won't be able to hear. Then what about I won't be able to hear the holy name? But it's not true. Like we can still hear the holy name. It's not dependent on the ears hearing.
It's not depending on the instrument.
Yes.
Nothing is depending on the instrument. And Helen, she was deaf and blind both. Yes, and then she learned to the patient of her nurse who came, and then after she was teaching like that. So yeah, there is no material impediment to devotional service. There's no material impediment to devotional service. There's, like the senses can be enlightened with Krishna, regardless if those instruments are functioning or not functioning. And the consciousness is not depending on the adibotic either. So it's a beautiful, like the spirit soul doesn't have any miseries. There's no miseries for the spiritual, no miseries of any type. Yeah.
Thank you.
The senses don't need to limit us, at least the instrument of the senses. Of course, the soul has senses, and the soul is joyful, hearing the flute of Krishna and chanting the glories of Krishna and remembering Krishna. And there is no material limitation to that. Thank you for bringing that up.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Hare Krishna. Thank you all. Kwantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Premanand.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.